Story time, folks. Let me tell you about the time my life took an unexpected turn in our little village. You see, I'm a craftsman, been making furniture for as long as I can remember. Our village, tucked away in the hills, is the kind of place where everyone knows everyone's business, and old tales and superstitions are as much a part of daily life as the air we breathe. I had a good life, I really did. A loving wife who'd greet me with a smile every evening, and two wonderful kids who'd run to hug me as soon as I walked through the door. But lately I'd been feeling restless. Each day seemed to blend into the next, a never-ending cycle of work, home, sleep, repeat. Don't get me wrong, I loved my family, but part of me yearned for something more, something exciting. Then one day, as if answering my unspoken wish, a traveling fair rolled into our village. The colorful tents and strange music brought a buzz of excitement I hadn't felt in years. As I wandered through the fair, taking in the sights and sounds, I found myself drawn to a small, mysterious tent. Inside, an old woman with eyes that seemed to see right through me sat behind a crystal ball. "Sit," she said, her voice raspy but commanding. As I settled in the rickety chair, she gazed into her crystal ball and spoke words that sent a shiver down my spine. "A life-changing encounter awaits you. Choose wisely, for your heart will be tested." My head spinning from her words, I stumbled out of the tent and found myself at the fair's makeshift tavern. That's when I saw her, a woman so captivating, it felt like the world around us faded away. Our eyes met, and in that moment, I knew my life would never be the same. Little did I know, as I smiled at this enchanting stranger, that I was about to embark on a journey that would challenge everything I thought I knew about love, loyalty, and the power of choice. But that, my friends, is where our bedtime story truly begins. As I stood at the crossroads that night, my heart pounded in my chest. On one side was my home, where I knew my wife waited with a surprise, probably another gesture of her unwavering love. On the other, the path to the fair where she waited, the mysterious woman who had consumed my thoughts for weeks. I'm ashamed to admit it, but in that moment I chose the path to the fair. The thrill of the unknown pulled me like a magnet. As I approached our usual meeting spot, I saw her silhouette in the moonlight. But as I got closer, something felt different. "I've been waiting for you," she said, her voice eerily melodic. Then, before my eyes, her form began to shift and change. I stumbled backward, my mouth dry with fear. She wasn't a woman at all, but a spirit, beautiful and terrifying all at once. "Don't be afraid," she cooed, reaching out to me. "I've fallen in love with you. Come with me, and I can offer you eternal youth, endless adventures, everything you've been yearning for." As she spoke, a vision flashed before my eyes. I saw my family, my wife, gray and bent with age, tears in her eyes as she looked at my empty chair. My children, grown now, with a sadness in their eyes that broke my heart. I saw birthdays, holidays, simple family dinners, all moments I'd miss if I took the spirit's offer. The pain in their faces, the emptiness in their lives without me, it hit me like a punch to the gut. What had I been thinking? How could I have been so blind? In that moment, I realized the true value of what I had. The love of my family, the life we'd built together. It wasn't mundane. It was beautiful. It was everything. Tears streamed down my face as the weight of my actions crashed down on me. The spirit's offer of eternal youth seemed hollow now compared to the rich, full life I had waiting for me at home. I had been such a fool, risking it all for a fleeting thrill. "No," I said, my voice shaky but growing stronger. "No, I can't go with you. My home, my family, that's where I belong." The spirit's face contorted with anger, but I didn't wait to see what would happen next. I turned and ran faster than I ever had in my life, back towards my village, back towards my home. As I ran, I prayed it wasn't too late to make things right, to show my family how much they truly meant to me. This bedtime story was far from over, and I knew the hardest part was yet to come. As I raced back to the village, my heart pounding in my ears, I heard an unearthly shriek behind me. The spirit's rage was palpable, sending chills down my spine. "You dare reject me?" Her voice boomed, seeming to come from everywhere at once. "Then your entire village will suffer!" I burst into the village square, out of breath and wild-eyed. "Everyone, please, you have to listen!" I shouted, my voice cracking with desperation. Villagers poked their heads out of windows and doors, confusion and fear on their faces. I knew I had to act fast to protect them all. Without thinking, I ran to the home of our village elder, an old man named Einar who knew all the ancient stories. As I pounded on his door, the sky darkened unnaturally, and an eerie wind began to howl through the streets. Einar opened the door, his eyes sharp with understanding. "I know why you're here," he said gravely. "There's only one way to save us all now." He told me of an ancient ritual, passed down through generations, to banish evil spirits. But it came with a catch. I would have to face 3 challenges, each representing a virtue I had neglected in my foolishness. "Are you willing to do this?" Einar asked, his gaze piercing through me. "To save your family, your village?" "Yes," I said without hesitation. "I'll do anything." The first challenge was honesty. I had to stand in the village square and confess my wrongdoings to everyone, including my wife. The words felt like glass in my throat, but as I spoke, I felt a weight lifting from my shoulders. The pain in my wife's eyes nearly broke me, but I pushed on. The second challenge was devotion. I had to spend a day and night in silent meditation, focusing only on my love for my family and my village. As the hours crawled by, every muscle aching, I delved deep into my heart, rediscovering the depth of my feelings. The final challenge was sacrifice. I had to offer up something precious to me, my craftsman's tools, passed down from my father. As I laid them on the altar, I felt a piece of myself go with them, but I also felt a new strength growing within me. With each challenge completed, I could feel the spirit's hold on our village weakening. But the hardest part of this bedtime story was yet to come. The final confrontation loomed ahead, and I knew I would need every ounce of courage I had found to face it. As dawn broke on the 3rd day, I stood at the edge of the village, ready to face whatever came next. The air crackled with tension, and I could feel the eyes of every villager on me. This was it, the moment that would determine all our fates. As the sun rose, casting an eerie red glow over our village, I stood at the center of the town square. The spirit materialized before me, her form shifting between mist and solid, her eyes burning with fury. "You've made it this far," she hissed, "but now you face your final test." With a wave of her hand, 2 magical barriers appeared. In one, I saw my wife, her face etched with fear. In the other, I saw our entire village, men, women, and children huddled together in terror. "Choose," the spirit commanded. "Save your wife or save your village. You can't have both." My heart felt like it was being torn in 2. How could I make such an impossible choice? I looked at my wife, our eyes meeting across the magical divide. In that moment, I saw not just fear in her eyes, but also strength, the same strength that had supported me all these years. Taking a deep breath, I turned to the spirit. "I choose the village," I said, my voice trembling but resolute. The spirit's laugh echoed through the square. "You would sacrifice your own wife?" "No," I replied, feeling a sudden calm wash over me. "I'm not sacrificing her. I believe in her strength. I know she can save herself." As soon as the words left my mouth, a blinding light erupted from where I stood. The spirit screamed, her form disintegrating in the radiance. When the light faded, both barriers were gone. My wife stood there, free, and around us, the entire village was safe. In that moment, I realized the true meaning of the elder's words. My selfless choice, my faith in my wife's strength, it was the final key to breaking the spirit's power. As the villagers cheered around us, I walked slowly towards my wife. The joy of our victory was tempered by the weight of what I needed to say. "I need to tell you everything," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. We spent hours talking, tears flowing freely between us. I confessed every detail of my foolishness, every moment of weakness. It was the hardest conversation of my life, but with each word I felt like I was cleaning a festering wound. My wife listened, her face a mix of pain, anger, and something else, understanding. When I finished, she took a deep breath. "You hurt me deeply," she said, her voice shaking. "But I saw you out there. I saw you choose our village, choose us, even when you thought it might mean losing me. That took real courage." "I'm so sorry," I said, reaching for her hand. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I promise you I'll spend the rest of my life making this right." She squeezed my hand back. "It won't be easy," she said, "but we've built a life together, a good life, and I think it's worth fighting for." As we sat there, hands clasped, I felt a glimmer of hope. I knew we had a long road ahead, but for the first time in a long while, I was exactly where I wanted to be. This bedtime story taught me the most valuable lesson of all, that true happiness isn't found in excitement or adventure, but in the love we nurture every day. And that, my friends, is a treasure worth more than all the magic in the world. As the days turned into weeks and weeks into months, our village slowly began to heal from the spirit's influence. The crops that had withered began to grow again, and the livestock regained their health. But more than that, there was a renewed sense of community, a shared bond forged in the face of adversity. I found myself changed too. Every morning, I'd wake up and feel a wave of gratitude wash over me as I looked at my wife sleeping beside me. The simple moments, helping my children with their chores, sharing meals with my family, even the routine of my daily work, all took on a new, precious quality. As news of what happened spread, people from our village and even neighboring towns started coming to me for advice. They'd heard about my experience and wanted guidance on their own struggles with temptation and relationships. At first, I felt unworthy to offer counsel given my own mistakes. But my wife encouraged me, saying that my experience could help others avoid the same pitfalls. So I began to share my story. I spoke of the allure of the unknown, the danger of taking loved ones for granted, and the devastating consequences that can come from a moment of weakness. But more than that, I spoke about the incredible power of true love and forgiveness. True love, I'd tell them, isn't about grand gestures or constant excitement. It's about choosing each other every day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Years passed, and our family grew. One evening, as I sat by the fireplace with my grandchildren gathered around me, my youngest granddaughter tugged on my sleeve. "Grandpa," she said, her eyes wide with curiosity, "tell us a story." I smiled, looking around at their eager faces, then at my wife, who sat nearby, her eyes twinkling with the same warmth I'd fallen in love with so many years ago. "All right," I said, settling back in my chair. "Let me tell you a bedtime story. A true story about a foolish man who almost lost everything, but was saved by the power of love and forgiveness." As I recounted my tale, I watched understanding dawn in their young faces. I emphasized the lessons I'd learned, the strength that comes from family bonds, how our actions can have far-reaching consequences, and the incredible, transformative power of forgiveness. "Remember, my little ones," I said, looking each of them in the eye, "the most valuable things in life are right here. The love of your family, the support of your community. Don't be tempted by flashy promises of adventure or excitement. True happiness is built day by day in the life you create with those you love." As I finished my story, I saw tears in my wife's eyes, mirroring my own. Our journey hadn't been easy, but every step had been worth it. "And that, my dears," I said, giving them each a hug, "is the most important lesson this old craftsman ever learned. Now, off to bed with you. It's the end of story time." As they scampered off to bed, chattering excitedly about the tale, I felt a deep sense of peace. My story, our story, would live on through them, a testament to the enduring power of love, forgiveness, and the bonds of family.